Thank you so much for all of your likes and your shares and your subscribes. I really appreciate it. I love reading your comments. And yeah, thank you so much. I reached 25,000 subscribers. I'm so excited. It's been a fun journey, that's for sure. All right. Spirit and Universe, what are the messages that Aries need to hear this month? What do they need to hear that they're not paying attention to with respect to life and love? What do Aries need to hear? I'm using the Mary L. Tarot deck. All right, Aries. Mars is in Scorpio. You can feel it too, can't you? You're always action-oriented. You're always down to fight another fight. That's why this card is at the bottom of the deck. But you fight with a purpose. You fight to rule yourself. And you fight to understand. You fight for clarity. You fight for clarity. Not about winning. Not about losing. Not about hurting somebody or proving a point. No, not at all. You fight for clarity. And that's actually a very common misconception about you, Aries, because you're kind of known for your leadership or your, I don't even want to put it that way. You're kind of known, like when someone says Aries, you know, they kind of think that you're self-indulgent, right? And selfish. And people think Aries cheat a lot, right? But you really don't. You really don't. You internally have this naivete that causes you to get hurt because you believe, being the babies of the zodiac, okay, you believe everything in front of you. You see potential in everything. You see everyone's potential. They don't see it. You do. Sometimes you don't see your own. And you can get really hurt a lot because you believe people, all people, actually have goodness in them. And sometimes they don't. Now, is it their fault? No. Do you forgive them? Yeah. Because you know that you didn't walk in their shoes. You weren't raised by their family. You know. But nonetheless, it can hurt you and it can tear you down and pull you down over time because you are so sensitive to that, because you sit right next to Pisces on the zodiac. You sit right next to all that intuition, all that knowing, all that emotion, right? But then there's a little bit of ignorant bliss that goes along with you. And I'm not saying this to be hurtful, not at all. You know this about yourself already. I don't really even need to say it. But you can tend to get very hurt and when the reality of the world sets in and the reality of what people say versus what people actually will do, and vice versa. Like, they let you down a lot. Even though you see their true potential, and if they would only own up to their own potential, right? Yourself included, the world would be a different place. And frankly, out of anybody, out of all the signs, Aries, you are the ones that can see the potential and make the maps to get to destinations. And I know it just sounds kind of funny, but like, you definitely see the most positive outcome in everything. And that can be detrimental, but it also can be very beautiful, right? If people would listen to you. Okay. So celebrating differences. They're different in every way, right? They're different in every way, but they're being blessed by a divine spirit. So their souls are connected. They have a choice to be together, to stay together, to love each other, really. They do, but they also can choose. And there's great strength here with the way that this card is depicted, because she's actually comforting him. And they're kind of resting in, and she's kind of protecting him, and he's kind of allowing himself to be vulnerable in her arms. And that's what love is. That's one of the many facets of love, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable around somebody. And when we get into ego battles and ego wars and pride, and when we say hurtful things and when we do hurtful things, that is just because our egos are so sensitive that we are afraid to get hurt. And in doing so, we hurt each other and we hurt the relationship. So allowing and understanding that vulnerability is where the beauty is in love. Aries, in your natural way, right? 9 of Wands, having the energy to fight another fight. Again, continuously, once again, still seeing a positive outcome. No matter how many times it happens. Because you believe. Because you believe that there's equal energy, positive and negative. So why even put forth any sort of energy towards something that's negative when there's just as much good? That's why things tend to just work out for you, because you really only focus on the positive, because there's no reason to focus on the negative. There really isn't. And we have the Queen of Cups here, so you could be dealing with the water sign. We have the 4 of Cups here. Could be dealing with the water sign. Death card. Scorpio could be dealing with the water sign. Some pentacles, swords, heartbreak, right? End of a cycle, end of the pain, end of the hurt. Feeling left out in the cold. But remember, this is a choice. This 5 of Pentacles, feeling left out in the cold, is a choice. We can choose to stay in a hurtful relationship. We can choose to walk away from a relationship. We can choose to, whatever. We can choose. It's a choice. And feeling left out in the cold is different than being left out in the cold. Remember that. We can always change our circumstances. And I say that because there is pain here associated with what we're talking about here. There's great pain. There's also great optimism in your natural way. So that's what the 10 of Swords is here for. Great pain, feeling stabbed in the back, hurt, feeling left out in the cold. But things, again, Aries, they tend to work out in your favor. Now, there's a little bit of stuff with the ignorance is bliss on your side, okay? And it doesn't mean you have to be ignorant and dumb, but you can choose to just only look at the positive. Now look, she's kind of trusting that this is the lotus flower, and the beauty with the lotus is that it just keeps blooming and blooming and blooming and blooming and blooming. It's ever giving. It's ever giving. So she's trusting, she's blindfolded, and she's trusting that it will continue, the Wheel of Fortune, continue to give beauty. Things will work out in her favor. She's believing in that. She's trusting that. She's also on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and she's letting that energy guide her to where it needs to go, to where she needs to go, not forcing anything. She trusts that she will be she will end up in the place where she needs to be. Okay? So through this hurt, through this pain, you're not focusing on that. You're saying, well, if that's what needed to happen, then that's what needed to happen. Now, a little bit what's lacking, Aries, and I'm going to say it, don't get your feelings hurt, okay? But in this first part, a little bit of what's lacking is self-awareness. Okay, there is belief, there is positivity, there is fighting another fight, but there's a lack of internal introspection of what do I need to change? What do I need to think about? What do I need to, what do I want to be happy? What can I do better next time? What does my partner need from me? There's a little bit of a lack of that, okay? Now, not a lack of caring. Queen of Cups, if you're dealing with the water sign, this is talking about them. If we're talking about your energy here, then not a lack of caring, but a lack of understanding your own self in the dynamic of the relationship, in the dynamic of your love life, why your love life is how it has been. Okay, your role in that. But, so that's this, then we have this transformation where there is deep introspection because we have the Death card. Now there's wisdom. Now there is understanding. Now there is accountability. Now you know. It's almost as if you needed to go through this so then you could know where the work needs to take place from your part and the other person's part. You're still both going towards the same direction. You have the same goals. But, one person sometimes might need to do more work than the other person and vice versa. But again, dynamic, fire or water. The sun. You're heading in the same direction. But on a higher level, Aries, okay? I feel like there are lessons that have been learned. But you're not dwelling, okay? Too, what's the beauty about you is you're not dwelling on it. You're still forging ahead, blissfully, in the Aries way, but you're not forgetting that you've learned these lessons. You're just not going through all the motions and catharsis of showing that you learned your lesson. Like, you learned. You get it. You know what you will and will not do next time. You know what you will and will not put up with, etc. So there's a little apathy. Maybe a little bit of loss of belief in love on some level. Loss of belief in goodness in people. A little bit of that. So you're kind of lacking the vulnerability necessary to really get to this space with someone. And I think you were hurt so much that there's a deep-seated fear. Like, you need to. You know the importance of it in the dynamic of a relationship, but there's a deep-seated fear and barrier up that you will never let anybody hurt you, really, again. But in doing that, Aries, you're actually hurting yourself. And the funny thing is you know this. you know this. Okay? So just be aware that this apathy, it's fake, it's an act. Because all this shrugging of the shoulders is actually what's actually behind it is a lot of emotion. So feel it. Be in the emotion. Don't act like it's not there. What's the purpose of that? Okay? You're an Aries. You're purpose-driven. Be honest with yourself. And I think you are. You just aren't really admitting it outwardly. Okay, I'm going way over on time. By the way, I wasn't going to take that card, but it was the Chariot, so it does mean moving forward. All right, it does mean making a decision, which you're not going to sit and dwell. You know, but again, another watery energy. Okay, card of Cancer. But be careful in these times of apathy, because you have to understand where that apathy is coming from. And it's coming from a place of self-preservation, because there's some deep emotions there. Acting like you don't care when you really do, right? Not accepting offers when you want more than anything to accept them. Be honest with yourself. And you are. That's what this Death card is for. Okay? Opening up. You need to really open up, Aries. Okay. Let's pull some clarifiers. Okay, why do you feel left out in the cold, Aries? Please clarify the Five of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords in one card. Please clarify the Five of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords. Please clarify the Five of Pentacles. Eight of Wands. Rapid communication, but the thing with this card is that it's kind of like high level, like 30,000 foot level communication, because there's so much barricading herself, barricading her emotions, that yeah, there's talking, like she's out in the world, she's talking, okay, talking with her partner, but the reality of what's going on underneath the surface is much deeper than she's letting on. So there was great pain, or there is great pain with what's associated with these two cards and what you've been dealing with, frankly, or will be dealing with. I mean, you're going to be very protective of your emotional state. Very. And maybe you are. Like, maybe this is something that happened in the past, and you're not really allowing anyone else to come in because you were so hurt. And you'll know you'll know if it's you that I'm talking to, you'll know. There won't be any question. So, no action items on that really. You know, it's just saying like you were really hurt and now you're protecting yourself. You're still forging ahead in life and love, you know, with your fiery. That's why the lion's there, with your fiery energy. But there's deep stuff going on, and you're working through it. You're figuring it out, but you're not about to let anybody in. Like, you're not about to. Not by a long shot. So, fighting another fight, yes. But really connecting, no. Again, this is not the Two of Cups, this is the Lovers. This is not a soul connection, this is a head or heart decision. So being very vulnerable is what you need to be doing. You need to get to that place. But again, you're also not letting go of the head part of the decision. You're not only thinking with your heart, you're protecting yourself. Okay, please clarify. Let's clarify. Please clarify the Lovers. Please clarify the Lovers card for Aries. Two of Swords, again, a decision. Very, very, very obvious decision that is bothering you, that you are unwilling to recognize. unwilling to make concerning love. Probably because you were so hurt. Please clarify the Death card. What is this transformation about? Please clarify the Death card. Knight of Pentacles. Slow and steady. This transformation is pretty major, Aries. It comes from a very deep place. It's stemming from a deep, deep place. There's a lot of self-protection, emotional protection, emotional barriers. Okay. What? I mean, I don't know why she's here. I'm gonna clarify this. Queen of Cups. I don't know why she's here, but this Knight of Pentacles is telling you to be very slow, but also be very honest. This is a card of honesty. Slow, steadfast, consistent, loyal honesty, which maybe you need to be with yourself or with somebody else, okay? But allow this transformation to take place and be honest about where it's coming from, why it's necessary, and be honest about what it's going to cause in the future. It's important. Okay? It's not going to happen overnight, Aries. You're impatient. You want things now. This is a slow transformation, and you need to bend with it, bend into it, maneuver, be malleable with it, with the energy, with the emotion, with the waves. Okay? But don't lose sight of yourself, because whatever that was, it hurt. Queen of Cups. Why is the Queen of Cups here? Why is the Queen of Cups here? Please clarify the Queen of Cups. It has to do with the decision. Maybe with the water sign, but a decision about your emotions. It's almost as if you can decide to stay where you are, but you know that if you want to get to where you're trying to get to, you've got to make some adjustments. You've got to move forward. That's why you have two major decisions here. Or one decision that's really important. So think about this, okay? What does this work? The Seven of Pentacles. Please clarify this Seven of Pentacles. Why is this Seven of Pentacles here for Aries? What does this mean? Please clarify the Seven of Pentacles. King of Cups. Another water sign. This work has to do with the emotional state. I mean, it could be dealing with the water sign, but emotions. Emotions. After this, and this could be something you're dealing with from a long time ago. But this is going to take work, whether it's regarding one person, a relationship, all right, or your own emotional management. It's going to take work. Or your own faith in love and people and humanity. Again, it's going to take work. But you've got to go. Like, you've got to go. Like, do it. Okay. What are the advice and guidance messages for Aries? Advice and guidance messages. What does Aries need to do? What do they need to know for the rest of the month? And guidance. Clarity is coming. Ace, oh my gosh. Aries. Wow, you have Ace of Swords, Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Cups, Six of Cups. We have clarity. We have stable new beginnings that are emotionally fulfilling. This could be with somebody from the past, or it could be just resolving this that happened in the past. Okay? There can be like some sort of breakthrough, if you can see, again with the fire and water, it's so funny, but like a breakthrough of some sort. Okay, maybe after a breakdown, I don't know, but aces, 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 aces. So new beginnings, fresh starts, right? New love, clarity. I think the most important card here in this advice and guidance message is that there's going to be clarity, and I think that's something that you've been seeking and have been unable to obtain. And that's what's getting you stuck here in this very, very emotional place. Okay? All right, Aries. I went on a lot longer than I was anticipating. But I hope you enjoyed that reading. Stay tuned. Your X spreads are going to be up soon. All right? Bye.